The topic of this episode is frequency of marketing and touch points, and how many times people have to hear a jingle, how many times people have to encounter your product or service or read your newsletter before they actually give you a credit card number. Let's talk about that. Hello, my friendly acquaintances. Welcome to Fire Your Boss. I am your host, George Bruno, and your co-hosts are Mr. Frank Loverboy Garen and Dan T-Bone Jones, known as Jonesy. Hello, gentlemen. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, George.
Good to be seen.
Absolutely, yes.
I come on this show and I feel seen.
You should. That's the goal, to be seen.
I feel flattered too, being called Loverboy. So that's well, I'm still getting used to that. It's growing.
What are your thoughts about frequency? I know Ben Settle, people say to him, you send too many newsletters. Daily is way too much. And he blocks people. He's like, I don't want to hear that nonsense.
Yeah, so that's not true.
He just puts out his daily newsletter. And I understand that, because not everyone's going to read it every day. You might read it once or twice a week out of the 7 days that he sends it. But he is the most consistent emailer that I've ever seen. And he only sells one product, and that's his monthly newsletter. It's a newsletter to sell a newsletter, which is a hard copy. He has printed out and actually sends out a hard copy, which I think is kind of cool. But how often should we be reaching out to clients and potential clients? Frank.
Well,
Loverboy.
That's a great question. One thing I'm going to say is it's a good question, because too much communication and you start to annoy people. Too little communication and you fade into the background. So the real key is, finding that sort of sweet spot where you stay top of mind without being a nuisance. And I'm going to tell you something. I published 5 to 7 days a week consistently for the first at least 5 years I was in business online. And you know why I did it? Because people bought every time I published. So, if they bought Monday to Friday, then they bought Saturday, they bought Sunday. I'm like, hey, I have a big mouth. I can come up with 7 days, a week of content. But the first thing, there's a few different things we want to talk about here. Number one is consistency beats frequency. Whether you're showing up once a week, make sure it shows up the same day and pretty much the same time every week. If you're going to do it daily, don't skip a week and expect them to be happy about that. Are you posting to social media, 3 or 4 times a week? Hey, stick to that schedule, because what happens is, at a minimum, when you're consistent, people start looking forward to hearing from you. They're like, oh yeah, there's that guy, there's that gal. Maybe I'm not going to read that right now, but let me put it in their folder. You want your audience to know when to expect to hear from you. Okay, that's really important. So I think before we talk about how often, let's talk about how consistent and reliable you're going to be.
So is it better, let's say for content creators, let's say for YouTubers and social media people, like every Friday at 7 p.m. is better than, well, we're going to try to be 7 o'clock every night. Kind of thing.
You answered your own question right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
people can say, oh yeah, I can, like, I guess if you're consistent with your day and time of your show that you're going to publish, people will actually make room for it in their lives rather than it being a random thing. I remember years ago I never did multi-level marketing, network marketing, but they used to say the key to success is to treat it like a job. Treat it like a job. And I think when it comes to consistency, you're right. Consistency is more important than frequency. Treat it like a job, not a haphazard kind of thing.
Yeah, because if you just publish when, where, and as, and your competition is publishing weekly, twice a week, 3 times a week, he's staying in front of your audience 2 to 3 times more than you are. That's just going to sink your ship. And Jonesy, another thing to talk about here is you always communicate value. And that's what you and I try to do in our newsletter. And I know George, in every YouTube video that he does the same thing. You want to communicate value, whether you're writing out your newsletter list, or you're dropping a post on Instagram. You have to make sure it's worth their time. Not everybody's impressed by your new this or your new that. You know what I mean? Nobody cares. So what you want to do is give like a value overload, and maybe Jonesy can speak, to that. Like, there's a difference between, am I giving them something valuable, or am I just showing up to stay visible, right?
Yeah, because overall, you don't want to be pitchy in every single communication. And there's a few reasons for that. One is, people are just going to get pissed off and go away. It's disingenuous, and it's not nurturing and not audience building. Now, I'm actually going to say myself, and maybe our conversion chemistry newsletter, in totality, as an aggregate, as the work product of myself and you, Frank, we actually probably don't sell enough in it. We do value-driven posts, which is some life stories, experiences from ourselves, our journey into entrepreneurship, lessons learned. That's more of your forte, is the life lessons, mindset, coaching, and improvement side. And I'm still kind of a tech geek where I'm like, hey, everybody, check out this tool that, we implemented for this client, and it gave them a 100x ROI. Cool. I get really excited about that. And then we're like, we should probably include our product and service in here once in a while. All the stuff we tell our clients and students and cohort that they should be doing. We really need to do that a little more.
We had that meeting last week where we said that, or was that Tuesday this week?
It was this week.
Yeah, we need to at least once a week really communicate the value of conversion chemistry, because we tend to have so many stories and so much knowledge that we want to share with people and help them out that we forget to promote ourselves. So yeah, that's been handled as of this week. So that's a good tip right there to learn from. Make sure you're promoting yourself regularly enough so as not to be too annoying, but you are in a business here, or most of it, or even if it's a charity and you're looking for donations, you have to get that top of mind presence, that brand awareness. We're all competing. I forget how many hundreds of messages each individual is bombarded with on a daily basis, but it's like staggering. I mean, I'd be making the figure up, but from memory, it's like hundreds and hundreds of, buy this, go here, pick this up, look at me, do that, do this other thing. Just billboards going down the highway. Hell, you drive 5 miles around here, you probably pass 30 billboards, on the interstate. That alone.
That's interesting that you bring up the billboards, because I had that in the back of my mind. That's a contributor for messaging and frequency. And that's a perfect example right there for different brands, which is top of funnel, or maybe not even in funnel type of messaging, where you're creating awareness. And this is very circumstantial, but if you're driving down a major strip near a city, so if it's New York, Philly, Washington area, maybe you're driving down 995, or maybe you're a truck driver driving across Interstate 80, going cross country. Either way, you're going to hit these metropolitan pockets where there's massive amounts of billboards on the overpass. A lot of them are personal injury lawyer ads, which you see them a lot, which means a lot of frequency, which means that they're trying to create awareness. So that way they're at top of mind. If you do get hit by a car, if you are injured in an auto accident, if you do breathe in mesothelioma or whatever that is, then you're the first person that they call. Better call Saul, or whoever it is.
1-800-TOP-DOG-LAWYER.
Top dog law.
The other one is I Hate Steven Singer, which is a Philadelphia thing, and really clever. You go over the bridge from New Jersey to Pennsylvania, there's a billboard. I hate stevensinger.com, and who the hell is Steven Singer? You know what I mean? And the other is I love benfranklin.com. And I'll let the audience look those up on their own. But yeah, I hate Steven Singer, SINGER.com, and I love benfranklin.com. They're just repetition. You see that over and over and over again, and you're in traffic and you're looking at these billboards. Sooner or later, you're at least going to look them up to see what the hell they're about,
So we're kind of like jaded, and and I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Desensitized to I Hate Steven Singer, because it's been in Southeast Pennsylvania for like 30 plus years. So we see it almost every day, but it really is genius. And for somebody who's never heard of it, yeah, you're going to go try to figure out what that is. It's a pattern disruptor. It's, it's guerrilla marketing at its finest. And it's a strong brand too. It's a jeweler. You hate Steven
Yeah.
Singer because his jewelry prices are so reasonable. Your wife can't give you an excuse, or you can't give your wife an excuse not to buy a piece of jewelry for her, right? That's their whole shtick. And that's where, when we're going to circle back on frequency, you're talking top of funnel, billboard, mass targeting, or maybe not even targeting at all, straight awareness. There's almost no limit to the amount of frequency, but it's also directly tied to budget and what your goals are. And as you get deeper into a sales funnel, depending on where somebody's at in the purchase journey, it becomes more strategic with how much frequency you need to put into messaging so it's seen properly and that the right message is being seen. And we talk about the 7 to 21 touches, right? And really, it's like 21 impressions now to be able to get brand recognition, where top of funnel frequency is important. But it can also be dissuading for somebody who is close to purchase and is getting bombarded. And this could be either automated, or if this type of prospect's already in a sales funnel for a higher ticket purchase, be it a coaching course, a car purchase, real estate. Nobody wants to have their phone hammered 7 times a day with texts, emails,
Right.
calls,
No.
voicemails. You're going to say, F this, I'm out. So you have to be targeted in the type of message and not just say, hey, we're here, here's our brand. Now you're at the stage where you need to say, here's why you need to be purchasing yesterday, if not today or tomorrow. But with only amounts of frequency that makes sense at that time. Otherwise, you're gonna chase people away.
I just had that happen, Jonesy, from the real estate business. I forget if it was a product or service I was really interested in. The guy must have called me 15 times in 2 days. And I'm like, dude, you're a nut. I don't care if this is going to save my life. I'll die before I give you the money at that point.
Yeah.
So now you're just being an a-hole. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's just that's obscene. Yes, the rule of 7, but not in a half an hour. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Like what if I was
Right.
eating lunch or, whatever, man, and you're sitting there bombard, you fill up my voicemail. Now I got 18 messages from you. My mom can't call. You know what I mean? That's no good. That's no good. And what you want to do is you have to kind of you have to pay attention to how your audience responds. I mean, if you're getting opens, you're not getting a lot of complaints. You're always going to get a complaint or two. These old men in their underwear that don't realize they subscribed and double opted in and they still complain. That's something you live with. But you know what? Dial it up. See what happens. And then if it's too much, dial it back. That's how you find your sweet spot. Some audiences only want to hear from once a week. There was a guy, he just retired, Martin Avis, one of my friends in the internet marketing business. Every newsletter he put out, it was only once a week typically. When it came in, I stopped and read it because it was Martin. On the other hand, Marlon Sanders, he's 3-4 times a day some days. And Jonesy and I just interviewed him. And there's a method to his madness. There's a reason he does that, or he wouldn't do it. And he wouldn't be here almost 30 years later in this business. So, here's one guy that comes in, I stop what I'm doing, I read Martin's thing. And then Marlon, 3-4 times a day, I don't look at them all, but I'll tell you what, I skim the headline. I'm like, ooh, what does he have now? What do I need next? So he's doing that in 2 different ways. What do you think about segmenting your audience, to kind of test your communication frequency, Jonesy? What would you say to that, and how would you do it?
Well, I mean, I think you just gave an example with Marlon Sanders that he is using that sort of segmentation, and that since you've been a subscriber and have purchased products from him, that he knows that you're the type who, anytime something drops, you want to be aware of it, because
Absolutely,
we're talking about having brand ambassadors and fanatics and loyalists to our brand. You do want to communicate new product drops to them. Now, somebody who's in a casual, low engagement, nurturing funnel, you're not going to send them 4 things per day. Otherwise, that's gonna lead to an unsubscribe at some point, sooner than later, probably.
Message 3 for sure.
Yeah. So it's a good way to alienate, and really that does apply in multiple channels as well. The bigger your audience, the more you do have to segment, and this comes from any number of ways. We'll go back to talking about the email marketing, where you have different cadences set up for different buckets of different statuses: people who have never engaged, people who have bought multiple times, people who have almost bought, but they didn't, right? That's the abandoned cart sequence. Then you've got people who just purchased and you give them a one-time offer, but you don't want to give the one-time offer or limited time deal necessarily in a broadcast because you don't want to discount. We talked about that in the episode about pricing. And now as we're recording this, George, I'm kind of forcing your hand in editing that you have to drop the other episode prior to. We have to go in order now. Sorry, I'm
Yes.
forcing your hand.
Yes.
So
Yeah, no problem.
we talked about pricing. Don't discount on your broadcast. Discount deeper in the funnel as something that's an urgent call to action based on that segment of near buying or almost bought. Larger the audience, the more you need to segment.
I know that's something I need to learn. And thank you for bringing that up. That's a little nudge for me. Anyways. All right. What would be the final word on frequency of marketing? If you could sum it up in a paragraph, someone's starting their own business and they want to start communicating with clients, potential clients, or advertising in general. Give me a paragraph, a golden paragraph.
Mind the omni-cycle or omnipresence and omni-cycle of the sales cycle. So omnipresence or multi-presence. Omnipresence is difficult unless you have Coca-Cola budget. Omnipresence means being everywhere your audience is. And it's not terribly difficult and it's not terribly expensive to do because, yeah, the higher up in the funnel, the more broad the message. But as people start showing more interest, you have ways organically, personal touch and digitally all combined to hit them with the value of the message to make them want to take that next step. So, but you have to be very specific in your messaging at different points of the funnel. But leverage the omnipresence.
Look at you and your big words, huh? It's like he's a walking thesaurus, George. He really is. Well, what I would say...
I would say he's an ambulating thesaurus.
And there you go. Absolutely.
Or as Steve Wright would say, what's another word for thesaurus?
Steve Wright, I love him, man. Definitely. So for me, like what I would say, my paragraph would probably be like, when it comes to how often you should communicate with your customers online, there is no magic number. The key though is to stay consistent, right? Deliver value every time and listen to your audience. You know, start, if nothing else, hey, start with a weekly schedule, adjust it based on feedback, and don't be afraid to communicate more often if you're really giving people value. If you're giving people content that they want, they expect to hear from you and they deserve to hear from you. If you're just sending them crap, that's something different. But if you're giving them value today, why not give them value 3 more days from now, right?
In marketing, we can take 2 paths when we're setting that tone. One is replicate the frequency of somebody else who's doing it, but do it with your own brand. So you're using a framework that you know works, which is fine. There's 50 different versions of tires out there because we know that it's round, made of rubber, and gets us from point A to point B. But others do it, in ways that are better than some others. The second is if you have no competition, one, make sure that it's something that somebody really wants to buy. We like competition because it means there's a market and audience for it. But if you have something truly groundbreaking new and there's no precedent for it and you're setting the tone, that's okay. Marketing, we use the scientific method, which is we're going to come up with a hypothesis, test it out, and prove it for or prove it against and make adjustments thereby, and then implementing something else or adjusting. Is twice a day too much? Scale back to once a day. Is twice a day not enough? Maybe we use some other modalities in there. And such a thing as too much? Absolutely. A client that I parted ways with about 8 months ago, because they didn't listen to the doctor's orders. They hired me to be their marketing consultant, but then defied everything I said because they had been in business for 40 some years. And obviously they know best. Okay. Posted on social media, Facebook specifically, 14, 15 times a day. Thousands in their likes, followers, and audience. 0 engagement. 0.
How could you even keep up with that? Like what, you're going to read 14 posts when everything's important, nothing's important. That's something else to keep in mind.
Yeah.
I'll say it again. When everything is important, when everything is urgent, nothing is important. Nothing is urgent.
Damn.
And I think
that's a good final word.
this is all important and related to two broadcasts ago when we talk about niching down. Literally, if you are just spreading leaflets from 20,000 feet, like they do during wartime, you might get some people that you're targeting, no pun intended. But marketing is not about just spreading seeds forever. We want to give those seeds and those messages to specific people. The people who are in need never get tired of your message. They can't get enough of it. And I think the more we niche down, for instance, like most people don't take all the legal ads seriously until they need a lawyer. Then all of a sudden, or it's like what do they call it? The reticular activating system in your brain. You bought a Corvette. Jonesy, you're going to see Corvettes everywhere now, and you'll be able to tell exactly what year they are. And if it's a purple Corvette, even more.
That it's me.
It's his car and it's been stolen.
Then you're looking at a reflection in the store window. Yeah. So I think what happens is there's no downside to defining your audience as much, almost to an irritating level, and then back off a couple levels.
That's what I always tell my clients, George, is you want to do the cadence to me is, if you're going to publish 3 times a week, give them value here, give them value here, promote the bejeebies out of your stuff here. Next week, give them value here, give them value here, promote the bejeebies out of your stuff here, or put it in the middle or whatever. But it should at least be, to me, a 2-to-1 ratio of promoting your own stuff versus giving value. I mean, you can have a little tagline or a byline down the bottom or whatever, or brought to you by, today's offering, click here. But I think if you do that 2-to-1, my personal experience in the niches and the marketplaces I've worked in, that works just about appropriately. Now, I wouldn't say that for somebody that writes once a week, because you almost have to promote you have to promote something in every issue. My God, you're only promoting once a week, right? It's not a lot of time to get your stuff in front of somebody, typically.
Yeah, it's almost like when you talk about the cadence, I'm thinking about a friend of mine who's in a boxing class, and she has Parkinson's, and it's a type of boxing that helps people who have neurological issues. And she always talks about jab, jab, cross, jab, jab, cross. It's just like, they got their gloves and they're like jab, jab, and then just like the knockout punch kind of thing. And that reminded me of the cadence of newsletters. It's like jab, jab, and then, that type of thing.
That and rock steady marketing, rock steady boxing, I should say.
That's what it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, very interesting. All right, gentlemen, I think we whet people's appetite for that. Where can the audience find both of you guys?
Well, in the context of omnipresence, you can find us at fireyourboss.win, conversionchemistry.com, both places where you can sign up for our mailing list. You can book us for a consultation. You can and should join Conversion Chemistry because it's going to make you a lot of money.
I'll go along with everything he said. I couldn't say that better. Is there any kind of special discount code, though, for the friendly acquaintances of Mr. Bruno here?
Boy, howdy, is there. So if you go to fireyourboss.win, georgebruno.com, conversionchemistry.com, you can purchase the Digital Dominance Blueprint, also known as the Fire Your Boss Blueprint, 10-module series at the low half price, right? Back to school pricing, $97 using code Bruno.
Beautiful.
You want to take $100 purchase and launch a business out of it? and I'm talking high five figures after the 91 days it takes you to launch this business, that's the course to do it in. And
Nice.
we're not just going to stand by our fancy brand new cars and say, look at us, join the party. No, I'm going to stand by my 38-year-old purple car and say, if you want to launch multiple businesses, thereby leveraging your position over a current boss and having multiple streams of income and getting back a shit ton of free time, follow us.
Absolutely.
Or work full time and probably make more money than I am, but I like my time.
And we are lifestyle entrepreneurs. All of us are. We work in order to have a certain lifestyle. I mean, the whole idea of just grinding 7 days a week until there's nothing left of you, that doesn't sound too appealing to me. I work in order to support my lifestyle. My life is not working. I just don't wake up and grind until I pass out at night. I work in order to have a certain lifestyle. And I think most of my followers, the friendly acquaintances, are like that as well. So, and I think you guys would agree that we love our freedom. We love the time that we have. We love, if I want to take a 20-minute nap, I don't have to ask a boss to do it.
So here's my stance on that. This is where I get really passionate and fired up. Thanks for lighting the fuse here. Is,
yes.
I went from working 60 hours a week for a company, making really good money. Don't get me wrong, but 60 hours a week, burnt out, on call, having to please bosses, people who worked under me, people who worked over me, customers, everything, constantly barraged, to launching my own business and saying, wow, I'm now working 40 hours a week, making the same amount of money. And I'm really happy because all I have to do is please my clients. And, then I scale. Now I'm working 30 hours a week, running multiple businesses. Yeah, sure. If I could work 60 hours a week and probably have already made 20 mil, but I like my time now. I'm not going to lie. I like my time.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. All right, gentlemen, great spending time with you as always. And audience, thank you for being here and supporting us. I mean, this is season 2 of Fire Your Boss. And of course, you can go to the website fireyourboss.win for more information. Use the promo code Bruno for a nice little sweet discount on things. Gentlemen, thanks for hanging out with me today. Appreciate it. And the audience, thank you as well.
Thank you, everybody.
Go forth and win.